My mother is a very artistic person. She dedicated her life to art. She was a rather eccentric painter. She had the idea of having 4 children and naming us in order to spell out love with our first initials. She passed unexpectedly last year, leaving me and my 2 siblings. She never got to complete the word love. When I was younger, I asked her, "What happens if you get too old and can't have a baby anymore?" Or something along those lines. And she told me that one of us could have a baby and finish it for her. She said it wouldn't be the same, but the tribute would make me happy. My parents had marital problems up till her death because of my father's infidelity. I think she put off having the 4th child for quite some time because of it. However, she always said baby Elise or Emilio would be completing our family soon. I was around 6 to 7 months pregnant when my father and his wife and former mistress announced their pregnancy. She said she would finally bring little Emilio into our family. My sister and I were horrified and spoke to my dad privately that while Mom did want someone to continue on the acronym idea, we found it disrespectful to do it with the woman he was cheating on her with. I told him about how she said she wanted one of us to carry on the name when I was a child. He shut me down, saying that she probably expected her and me to still be together, and that it'll be better with all you guys in the same generation of the family, and left it at that. My brother agreed. 2 weeks before I gave birth, they found out that they were not having a boy as they had hoped, but a girl. I realized I could take the name Elise before they would have a chance to name their baby my mother's chosen name. They could name her Emily or something else, but it wouldn't be the name my mother chose, and that's what mattered to me. So I did. My father, and especially my stepmother, are furious at me for ruining my mother's lasting wishes and tarnishing her idea. While my sister agrees with me, she won't say it to my dad since the birth. My aunt and other families on my dad's side calling me names from petty and troublemaking to just outright a witch. I didn't expect so much backlash, and it's really stressing me out with just giving birth. And they're taunting me by posting pictures of their ultrasounds with captions like, "The E-baby is coming, and 3 is a crowd, but 4 is love." It's driving me crazy, and it feels like this rift in the family is all for nothing, since they're going to claim their baby is the real E-baby anyways. I forgot to add this in. My stepmom approached me and asked me for permission, and politely asked me to change my mind about the baby's name once she caught wind that I was already planning on naming the baby Elise. This is part of why I think I could be the idiot. I never actually officially announced the name first. I felt like it would be more special naming the baby when they arrived, not before. Not the idiot. So weird your dad thinks it's even remotely appropriate to name a child of his mistress to honor his late wife? Tell stepmom to pick an R name and honor her own relationship. Lover, because she's the other lover. Burn. Her next kid could be Cecilia, Ursula, Natalie, Tina. I can't understand how the stepmom is going along with it. If I was in that situation, and my husband told me he wanted us to name our child after the legacy of his late wife, I'd be a bit shocked, even without any cheating. At this point, I would lean into the pettiness, since you're already being called out for it, and put him and his mistress on blast for the world to see. To take the idea my mother came up with, that she wanted her children to carry out. I mean, aren't you tired? You lack such originality, you have to steal from a dead woman. Wasn't sleeping with her husband enough for you? I mean, I can't wait to tell my new half-sibling the origin of her name and about the deceased woman who started the tradition and the mistress who slept with the woman's husband and still wasn't satisfied. That'll burn like napalm. It might burn a bridge as well, though, if that matters at this point. The baby won't be a sibling you grew up with, in addition to having no connection to your mother. Your father's trying to use your mother's dream to force you to have a bond with your half-sibling that likely won't happen because you'll be too focused on raising your own child. Don't let him foist your step-sibling on you to babysit under some guise of developing sibling bonds. Honey, your baby is the real E-baby and always will be. You know that. Your sister knows that. And I bet your mom knows that. So I, 22 female, am the eldest of 6 siblings, 19, teen, young teen, and tween twins. The 19-year-old is at uni in another city, some distance away. My parents unexpectedly need to go visit relatives abroad and have asked if I could look after the kids for a week. This is generally fine, except for one day I'm attending a course in another city. I'll have to leave my parents' house at around 6:40 a.m. and won't return until 7 or 8 p.m. Luckily, my boyfriend, who I live with, is off that day and is happy to help. When I told my mother this, she was incredibly appreciative, and I thought nothing more about it. Well, fast forward to today, 2 days before they leave, and my mom asked if my boyfriend's okay with getting up so early to get out of here. We live in the city. Parents are out in the suburbs about an hour by bus. I tell her that that's okay. He'll just come through the night before. To say my mother freaked out is an understatement. Mom, and where exactly will he be sleeping? Me, on the pullout with me. Mom, absolutely not. Not under my roof. Now, to be clear, when my boyfriend and I first started dating, on the couple of occasions we did visit my parents together, we did sleep in separate rooms. However, my parents always said that that was just because they didn't know him. And earlier this year, before we were living together, my entire family rented an Airbnb for a wedding, and there were 0 issues about my boyfriend sharing with me. Not only was it not a big deal, but my mom specifically made the room arrangements and put us together without any discussions from me. So I was pretty blindsided by this reaction today. I checked the timetable, and he'd need to get the bus just after 5 a.m. to guarantee he'd be there before I had to leave. And presumably, my mother was also expecting him to leave once I returned that night, meaning he'd potentially be getting home around 10 p.m. That's a ridiculously long day and far too big an expectation for someone who's doing you a favor. I advised my mom as such and reminded her about the Airbnb and the fact that we already lived together. And she reiterated that there would be none of that under my roof. For the record, the couch is in the living room, which has no closable doors, just open archways to the hallway and the dining room. As such, there is 0 chance that we'll be doing anything scandalous over those 2 nights. I told her this, but she still maintained that it's her house, so her rules. I told her that I felt my terms were more than fair, and that if she didn't like them, then she should find someone else for the week, and hung up. She's been texting, calling me selfish, and saying how this means she'll need to stay behind, and she hopes I'm proud of myself. I made it clear that it really doesn't mean that. There's a pretty easy fix here. Edit. The pullout is my parents' bed. It's in a little recess in the corner. They downsized last year. It's a 2-bedroom, and the other rooms are already crowded with my siblings, and we'd have to sleep on the floor, which I'm also unwilling to do. Not the idiot. My house, my rules isn't a get-out-of-jail-free card for being an idiot. Mom, in this instance, is being an idiot with her idiot rule. Doubly so in light of OP being an adult and doing her a favor. It's even more ridiculous when you consider OP and boyfriend living together. Mom can clutch her pearls to her heart's desire while she looks after her own kids. Mom is free to have rules. However, this is absurd. You're doing them a favor, a pretty big one, in asking your boyfriend to get on a bus at 5 a.m. to look after your siblings is a tall ask. He'll be knackered. It's better for everyone that he gets to stay the night. I also don't quite get your mom's logic. Read the Airbnb. She'll not allow you to share a bed under her own roof, but will happily pay for you to share one so you can attend a wedding? If she's that determined to force 2 adults to sleep separately, she can likely hire 1 adult for the week. Stop visiting until your mom respects your relationship. You were right to set that boundary with her. I, female 31, have a sister, 25, and we were super close growing up because our parents weren't very active in our lives and put their marriage above us. So it was just the 2 of us. At a young age, I had to pick up being her third parent, and it made me resent her for years because she could seemingly have a normal childhood, and I didn't. I did get over it though. When I graduated from college, I left my home state and moved to Arizona with my husband, 35. My sister and I barely talked after that because I was busy with my career and marriage. Now I have a young daughter, and I'm currently pregnant with twins. On Wednesday, I received a long text message from my sister, and she told me she was getting married and wanted me to walk her down the aisle. I was happy for her until she told me her wedding date. Her wedding is 10 days after my due date. I have no interest in traveling that soon after I give birth, and I definitely have no interest in leaving my husband with 3 kids. I want to get used to being a family of 5 together, just like how we got used to being a family of 3 together. So I told my sister that I couldn't attend because I would only be a week or 2 postpartum, and I didn't feel like flying across the country that soon. She tried asking if my husband would watch the kids, but I told her that I'm not leaving my kids, that are that young, across the country, and they're too young to fly on a plane. She got angry with me and told me that she wanted to catch up with me and hadn't seen me in years. So I replied that we would need to catch up on another day. She ended up hanging up the phone. And now, since our conversation, I've been getting emails from her bridesmaids that I intentionally was trying to hurt my sister. I feel like I'm doing the right thing by putting my family and myself above a wedding. So, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. You really didn't have a choice. You physically won't be able to travel. Surely you understand her request is ludicrous, given the circumstances. Resenting her because your parents were bad parents is irrelevant. You literally can't go. You'll be physically recovering from birth and adjusting to life with brand new twins. This seems too cruel to be true. 10 days after birth, to leave newborn babies alone is one issue. You, having given birth to twins, be asked to travel 10 days after on a plane, multiple hours, is another. Your sister still insisting you can do it is unreal. She would have known you were expecting if she'd been active in your life. If you were so important to her to be in the wedding, she would have checked before setting the date. Block the witchy bridesmaids and ignore them. And there's no guarantee on the due date. It's an estimate. OP might give birth mere days before the wedding, or might have a C-section that takes a minimum of 4 to 6 weeks to heal from before anything strenuous. And travel is strenuous. It's an absurd expectation. OP, best wishes to you and the twins. I, nearly adult, non-binary, live 50-50 with my mom and my dad and stepmom. I recently asked my stepmom to drive me to the drugstore to buy hair dye. I don't have a license. She said yes, and when we got there, I picked out some silver hair dye. She got a sour look on her face and tried to convince me to go with any other color, but I said no because I wanted silver. I asked her why she was so insistent, and she said that silver hair was making fun of older people. She's in her late 40s and has a fair amount of natural gray hair. She said that if I dye my hair silver, she'd take my phone until I dyed it a different color. I told her she couldn't do that because my mom paid for my phone, not her or my dad. She said it doesn't matter because she's my parent and can discipline me however she wants. I said fine, and we left without buying any hair dye. Well, a few days later, I went to my mom's house, and she helped me dye my hair silver anyway. She didn't say anything about it being offensive, and even said it looked great. The other day, I returned to my dad's house with my silver hair, and my stepmom freaked out. She did try to take my phone, but my dad stopped her because, surprise, surprise, my mom pays for it, and she can't just take it without talking to my mom. She huffed and called me a disrespectful, spoiled brat, her exact words, because I ran to my mom to avoid the rules. My dad later asked me in private to dye my hair a different color to keep the peace, and he even said he'd pay for the dye if I just would let my stepmom think she won. I said no and threatened to stay with my mom full time if she tried to punish me for my hair. My dad called me stubborn. They're both being cold to me now, and I'm wondering if I'm really being entitled. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Stick to your guns. They can make the rules about their house, but not about your body or what you choose to do with it. Sounds like the stepmom is projecting her insecurities about getting older onto you, and dad just wants to keep getting laid. Yep, she's obviously sour grapes about getting older. I vote to stay with your mom full time. Stepmom is on a power trip, and your dad is enabling her. This will keep happening until you leave. Just so you know, my mom, who's 69 and whose hair is 100% naturally light gray, loves this young people dyeing their hair silver trend. It makes her feel proud of her own hair. My 29, best friend 29, is getting married this fall. I'm the best man. We have a bachelor party in Vegas. His fiancée, a bit of a control freak, has badgered me a few times about what we've planned for the trip. To be honest, I don't have many concrete plans in place yet, and I've told her this. After maybe the fourth time she asked, I told her I didn't know the plans yet, and I wouldn't be telling her anyway. She got all huffy and puffy about it, and I basically told her to screw off, and that my job is to throw a fun party for my friend, not to get it approved by her. My friend tells me I should apologize, even though he agrees with me, because it'll stop her from nagging him. I don't want her to keep annoying him, but I also don't want her to think she has a right to do what she's doing. We have other married friends, and none of them said their wives did anything like this. Edit. I'd advise him not to hook up at the club, but if someone else wants it, I won't stop it. I'd 100% keep it a secret. Why would I say something? The plan is to relax and have fun. We don't need a full day of plans done ahead of time. We're just going to wing most of it. If all he means is apologize for telling her to screw off, then I agree. You could have declined her request in all the ways you described without going at her like that. This is your friend's fiancé, and your priority in his life will change. You want to be an idiot here because you're right, but you're going down the wrong path if this is your best friend. Everybody sucks here. She's not asking for a second-by-second itinerary. She wants a general outline of where her fiancé will be while he's away and what y'all are planning. And there isn't even a reason to believe that she'd object to any of it. She just wants to be aware. Are you required to tell her? Nope. But you're literally part of this woman's wedding party, holding a meaningful place in her wedding. And not only do you clearly hate her, but you're also deliberately antagonizing her, swearing at her. And your examples of why she's so awful just aren't. If they ran into their partner's old friends at a bar, most people would expect to be introduced. It takes half a second, and it's rude not to. For someone who's almost 30, you sound about 16, belligerent and exhausting. But of course you are the idiot. I agree. Why don't you have a little empathy for her, even if she's being a bit extra, and just give her a sense of the kind of things you're thinking about doing. This is the woman your friend has chosen to spend the rest of his life with. You need to have respect for her. God forbid she wants to know where you guys will be in case of an emergency. You could have just eased her anxiety, but instead you're rude as crap to the woman your supposed best friend is marrying. You're the best man. Act like it and have some class.